Despite pushing for the main target in the January transfer window, in the end Arsenal chose not to panic and pay over the odds, which has now set up a gargantuan summer transfer window. So is Stan Kroenke set to give Mikel Arteta up to £180 million to spend? Also, will Arsenal offer Alexandre Lacazette a one-year contract? And what has Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang revealed today about his Arsenal departure? Yo, what is going on guys? My name is Babs14 and welcome back to your boys channel. As per, if you guys enjoyed the video, smash a like on it and also do subscribe if you are new and help your boy on his road to 80k. But let's get into the Arsenal news and starting off with Arsenal's transfer budgets. Now in the last transfer window, a lot of us Arsenal fans were left very disappointed, and that's because we wanted to see Arsenal invest, spend the money, sign a strike and get Arsenal towards the Champions League places. But despite of our disappointment, Arsenal's intent was very clear. They wanted to spend big money on a centre forward, and even according to The Athletic, there was a considerable internal debate at Arsenal's shortlist of three strikers, Vlahovic, Isak and Calvert Lewin, over who represented the best option. Vlahovic was pursued the most aggressively because it was felt that he was the most attainable in mid-season. I know a lot of us Arsenal fans were left very angry about Dusan Vlahovic, but in terms of Arsenal, these guys tried, they put the money on the table, and according to many reports, reliable reports, Fiorentina actually accepted the offer. So Arsenal weren't afraid to stump up the cash for Vlahovic, it was just a matter the player wanted to stay within the Serie A. But with Vlahovic off the table, Arsenal turned to Alexandre Isak. But on Isak, according to The Athletic, Isak has been of long-term interest to Arsenal. The striker's release clause would have presented a quicker route to a potential purchase, but was deemed to be over his true market value and therefore not triggered. In this case, Arsenal was simply being sensible. As great as a player as Isak might become, and the current way he's playing, is he worth £75 million paid upfront in one instalment? Personally, I don't think so, and Arsenal didn't think so either. But despite the disappointment from the Arsenal fanbase, the owner's intent remained very clear. They were willing to once again back Mikel Arteta massively in this transfer window despite any massive sales, and if the right player was available, these guys would have pulled the trigger. So with them being so willing to back Mikel Arteta in the January transfer window, what about the summer transfer window? According to Mark Owen, Arsenal are planning the biggest spending spree in their history, with up to £180 million budgeted for the summer signings. Stan Kroenke is keen to show faith in manager Mikel Arteta by providing the funds for a major squad upgrade. Now in terms of Mark Owen, the source said this guy has become very reliable over the past few seasons, and in quite a few exclusives, this guy has been bang on. Owen also claims that Alexandre Isak and Dominic Calvert-Lewin plus Ruben Neves are all being identified as hungry young players required to take Arsenal to the next level. But Mikel Arteta knows he will need to secure Champions League qualification this season to land those top targets. Now I get Ruben Neves, but in terms of Isak and Calvert-Lewin, both strikers, can Arsenal spend that sort of money? Do they need to spend that sort of money? But at the same time, when you think about it, having already let go of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and with Nketiah and Lacazette both out of contract at the end of the season, that is three first-team strikers out of the door. Maybe, just maybe, Arsenal might turn to Calvert-Lewin and Isak. In terms of this ownership and the past few transfer windows, they have shown on a consistent basis they will back this Mikel Arteta project. But the question to you guys is, if you were given £180 million to spend in the summer transfer window, as much as this is in career mode, I want to ask you guys the question of how would you spend that money and what players would you sign? But in terms of Arsenal's transfer budgets, according to The Athletic, they're hoping to raise around £70 million by selling other on-loan players such as Matteo Guendouzi, Lucas Torreira, Hector Bellerin, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson, Alex Ferguson and Konstantinos Mavropanos. But also in terms of wages, as you guys can see here, Arsenal have halved their wages in the space of a year as well, with a massive amount of freed up wages and so many players leaving Arsenal, and the Arsenal owners were looking to once again invest money into the squad. I know that a lot of Arsenal fans are very skeptical, likewise your boy, but the fact that Mikel Arteta was seen in a meeting with Stan Kroenke, for me I don't think it would be a surprise if Arsenal were to spend that sort of money. But do you guys think Mikel Arteta is the right manager for Arsenal to give upwards of £180 million to spend? But on the transfer targets, according to The Athletic, it is possible that other names could enter the frame on the club's shortlist of strikers, but The Athletic expects Arsenal to maintain interest in their top two targets, and that being Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Alexandre Isak. But you've also got the likes of Jonathan David, potentially Ivan Toney, Ollie Watkins, and if you're very ambitious, what about Victor Osimhen? Who do you guys think should be Arsenal's priority centre forward target in the next transfer window? Okay, moving on, let's talk Alexandre Lacazette. Now when we are talking strikers, of course we're going to have to discuss Mr. Lacazette, who as it stands his contract is set to expire at the end of the season. But according to The Athletic, Arsenal have not completely ruled out the prospect of offering a 12-month contract extension to Lacazette, but are aware that Lyon are preparing to offer their former striker a long-term deal. And in terms of Lyon, even according to their president Jean-Michel Aulas, he has confirmed that the club's interest in re-signing Alexandre Lacazette from Arsenal in the summer. Now in the case of Lacazette, he's made it very clear that he wants a 3-year contract extension, but so far Arsenal have only put a 1-year contract on the table. table. Now for Arsenal's sake, they have to really think about this, because after letting go of Aubameyang, if they were to let go of both Nketiah and Lacazette, despite the returning following Balogun, Arsenal might have to spend money on two big strikers instead. And so with that kept in mind, and the fact that Arsenal have such a young squad, and as it stands Lacazette is a massive part of the Arsenal dressing room, are they better off keeping Lacazette on a 1-year contract, where Lacazette would stay on a short-term basis to provide the Arsenal dressing room with that needed experience, but also allow Arsenal to allocate funds on other positions as well? But the biggest question for Lacazette is he going to accept that 1-year contract? And my question to you guys is, if it came down to you, would you give Lacazette a contract extension, and do you want to see Arsenal keep him? But talking about strikers, according to Fabrizio Romano, Arsenal have turned down approaches on opening proposals from Crystal Palace and Newcastle for Eddie Nketiah in the final days of the transfer window. He is currently out of contract in June, and there are chances for Nketiah to sign a pre-contract with another club soon. With Nketiah, I think it's very clear this guy is going to leave Arsenal come the end of the season, and personally I have nothing against it. I think it's a decent little striker. He could work for a mid-table Premier League club, but for the level that Arsenal require to propel to that next level, with all due respect, I don't think Nketiah is that guy. But saying that, for Arsenal's sake, if hypothetically speaking Lacazette was to unfortunately pick up an injury, so if that was to be the case, do you guys trust within Mr. Edward Nketiah to provide the backup option and the necessary cover if Arsenal were to unfortunately suffer an injury? Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on his Arsenal departure has come out and said, "My last few months at Arsenal were very complicated, but that's football sometimes. My problem was only with Arteta. I can't say much more. I wasn't happy." So Mr. Pierre has come out and he's basically confirmed that his issue was with the Arsenal manager, but in terms of myself, I haven't learnt anything new, because a lot of reliable reports had already confirmed that it was an Arteta versus Aubameyang issue. And according to those reports, Mikel Arteta was not happy with Aubameyang turning up late time and time again. So with that being a repeated offence with Pierre, Arteta finally had enough. Because when you're earning £350,000 a week and you're the captain of a very young squad, in Arteta's mind, the minimum that he requires for you to at least turn up on time. And for years, us Arsenal fans cried about a ruthless Arsenal manager, and Mikel Arteta is certainly providing that right now. And what he is showing here is, if you are the highest earned, the club captain and potentially the best player, if you do not abide by the simple principles that he sets, no matter how good of a player you are, how much of a fan's favourite you are, there is no player that is safe. And that is all done for the long term to set a standard for the young players. But in terms of yourselves, what are your own thoughts on Mikel Arteta's treatment of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang? Was he right or was he wrong? Jack Wilshere in an exclusive interview says, "The one who I really like and I think he's going to be top is Martinelli. I think what the manager has done with him has been genius as well. When I first went there, he was training, coming on and not playing much, but training really well." So high praise there from Super Jack towards Gabriel Martinelli. And to link this back to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, now that he's left the club, who is going to be Arsenal's standout reliable goalscorer? Because in terms of Alexandre Lacazette, as decent as a player he is, in his Arsenal career he's never shown that he is a reliable goalscorer. So with that being the case, potentially we see a rise in terms of Gabriel Martinelli, who over his young Arsenal career has shown that he can be a very decent goalscorer. And in terms of Martinelli, what he did say back in 2021 was, "I want to follow in Aubameyang's footsteps. He's a captain. He wears the number 14 shirt, and that is a symbol for this club, and of course I hope to be very successful at Arsenal." Martinelli following in Aubameyang's footsteps, now that the number 14 shirt is available, I know he's a very young player and it's a massive ask, but with the 14 shirt available, do you guys want to give it to Gabriel Martinelli? And I say that because in terms of Bukayo Saka, number 7, Emil Smith-Rowe, number 10, Arsenal in the past have shown faith in the young players. My simple question to you guys is, would you guys give that to Gabriel Martinelli? And if it's not Pele Scottson, who else do you have in mind? Okay, moving on to the other Arsenal news today, and starting off with Mr. William Saliba, who has once again been receiving praise from the people in France. As according to ex-Arsenal and current Montpellier striker Stephy Mavididi, he says on Saliba, "That guy's a player. He's hands down one of the best defenders in the league, hands down. I think he'll walk back into the Arsenal team next season. And when I played against him, I thought, how is this guy not playing against Arsenal? When you have players playing for the opposition, praising you as a player, you know that you're that guy." And in terms of William Saliba, even though in his last game against Lyon, he did make a little mistake, you know what, I don't mind that, because at the age that he is, I expect him to make a little mistake here and there. So the fact that he has been so consistent and not made any real errors in his entire Marseille career so far, him making a little mistake now is what I want to see, because he can get it out of the system. And then when he returns to Arsenal Football Club and gets back into that team, hopefully, is a far more mature and experienced player. But in terms of yourselves, when Saliba does return to Arsenal, do you think he gets into the Arsenal starting 11? And if so, over what Arsenal centre-back? But in terms of the Arsenal players, they have now returned to London following their training camp in Dubai over the last week. A behind closed doors friendly against Reading is up next for the Gunners. The Arsenal players have enjoyed the sunshine in Dubai, living the life there and there, but now it's back to business and some massive games loom. Because as pointed out here, Arsenal have 17 games remaining this season, and here's the next 4. Wolves away, Brentford at home, Watford away and Leicester at home. But in terms of the Arsenal fixtures, as Charles Waters confirmed, Arsenal's rescheduled home game against Wolves will now take place on Thursday the 24th of February. So Arsenal will now play Wolves away and home in the space of the same month. And Wolves, my friend, are a very decent team. A team that have caused the likes of City and Chelsea and Liverpool and all top teams massive issues. So in terms of Arsenal going to their stadium, this is going to be a real task for Arsenal. But at the same time, saying that Arsenal have the likes of Partey and Xhaka back, and even though I'm not quite sure about Tomiyasu, Arsenal should have a near fully fit first team. So if that is to be the case after an especially disappointing transfer window, the pressure as always is going to be on Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. But looking at Arsenal's next 5 games with Wolves, Watford, Leicester, Brentford and Wolves again, how many points out of a possible 50 do you think Arsenal are going to get? But that is the video there and there. If you guys have enjoyed, smash a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to follow your boy on them social medias, then the links will be down below in the description. But that was the latest Arsenal news today, and in terms of Arsenal, apparently Stan Kroenke is putting up the money for Mikel Arteta. But in terms of Mikel, first things first, results, Champions League football is a priority. Let's see if you can deliver. Anyways guys, I'll see you next time in a bit.